What are your thoughts on the Patriot Act?
The Patriot Act, it's one that I've gone out and said my thoughts that with the Patriot Act, when it was put in place, people were trying to kill us. So what we need to do is we need to address issues as they come up. If somebody's trying to kill me, I'm not worried about maybe somebody hearing that my wife said a bad word in a conversation with us. I think we need to protect people's individual liberties, but we also need to be realistic. When they put the Patriot Act in, I mean, we were worried we were going to get hit again. There's people that want to kill us just because we're Americans, not because of anything else. So I think again, you've got to do a balance, and it's a tough balance. But again, with the Patriot Act, when it was put in place, and the reason it was put in place, I support it.
Do you believe a state has the right to nullify a federal law?
Well, I think the healthcare is a perfect example now. Yes. Again, there's always things you can think of, and when you get these type of questions, you always got to think, okay, but what about this? So I'd like to look at specific examples, but I would say, off the top of my head, almost always yes. I can't think of a reason not to, but in regarding like the healthcare, it's not in the Constitution. It has nothing to do with the Constitution, so it should be a state issue. So I would say that if the state deems that the federal government doesn't have the authority for what they're doing, then they should challenge the federal authority.
What are your feelings on the Kelo Eminent Domain case?
Another one of those things that immediately just irked me when I heard it. Eminent domain was meant for things like highways, stuff that we had to have, not for a connected politician who may want to take grandma's house so that he can build a shopping mall. This is where we get into the slippery slope mentality. And, a lot of things, I use words a lot in the campaign: intellectual honesty, unintended consequences. And I think once we start going down like the road where we can take somebody's house because they can get more tax money for a shopping center, we just go down that road, and that was unacceptable, that case. And look at how it turned out. Now we have nothing.
So what would you do to try to change it?
Eminent domain should be exactly what it's for. It should be. So what would I do about the Kelo case or eminent domain?
Obviously, you disagree with it. So what would you do politically to try to fight it?
To fight that case specifically? Well, we're after the fact now. If it wasn't
in generally, because it'll happen. It happened once. It'll happen again.
I would stand up, and again, anybody that knows me, I will get up and I will, on an issue, I will go and I will fight the person who's wrong, no matter who it is. On an issue like that, I would have been front and center, even if it wasn't our district, saying no. I would have been explaining to it. I would have been putting pressure on a lot of the politicians. I would have been calling them out. That doesn't get me a lot of friends, and I can give you a lot of examples, even in the Republican Party, about that. But when somebody's wrong, they're wrong. And I would be out there very loud, standing up for that person.
Going forward, what do you believe our policy should be on the war on terror?
I believe when we go to war, we should go to win quickly, and leave. You can't fight a war in a politically correct manner. People are going to get, again, we're going to have damages. There's going to be collateral damages. People are going to be hurt. But we need to get in there. We need to fight. We need to win, and we need to leave. As far as where we're at now in Iraq, we're on the right step. And it's because, again, we're doing the right things in there. Afghanistan's a little bit tougher, but we still need to do it. We need to fight. If we leave, it's easier after the fact now to say, well, I wouldn't have done this and I would have done this. Now that we're in both places, if we just leave, we lose. So we need to win them. However, and again, we all define winning as different, but we need to win them.
Will you campaign on repealing the recently passed health care legislation?
I think we should repeal it. I've heard a lot of people out there, and again, there's a cry, let's repeal it. We can defund it, but I think anybody that goes out there and says, I'm going to have it repealed, I don't think you're going to be able to do it in this election. So what it will do is it'll then give the Democrats an issue in 2 years saying, Well, they pledged to repeal it, they didn't repeal it. Because we're not going to be able to get enough votes this election to override a veto. So what we need to do is we need to use the tools that we can after we win the House and probably the Senate. A funny thing, I mean, earlier this, actually probably early January, maybe even last December, I had made a comment to somebody that we were going to pick up 75 House seats, and they laughed at me. And I think we're, again, if we win 75, if we win 50, if we take the House, we're still not going to have enough votes to overturn a veto. So what we need to do is we need to let people know what we can do. We can defund it, we can slow it down, but we can't repeal it. But I would vote to repeal it.
Okay. The reason I wanted this question is, you are a Republican in a blue state.
Mm-hmm.
This particular blue state, we are tripping over health insurance companies around here. And at this point, this health care bill is causing a lot of health care insurance companies to start hiring. So what I'd like to know from you is, if you're in a room full of your constituents whose votes you want, and a lot of them have just gotten jobs from the insurance industry, how are you going to tell them that repealing that legislation and costing them their jobs is going to help them?
Great question. It comes down to pandering. You can go back through our, my website, any statements, anything we've put on the website, and we will not pander. But what we would do is, and our whole thing from the very beginning is, regarding the health care, most of the Republicans in this race, we agree on what it is, what should be done. Cross state lines, everybody needs to compete, tort reform. What I would tell them is part of my plan, well, again, if I say I have a plan, it implies that I'm a leader in Congress before I get in there. But what we should do is we should allow everybody to compete over state lines. So they can then, they'll end up, having jobs if their companies are the best. But if I'm going to have to lose whatever the number, in this example is 15 votes, 20 votes, 25 votes, I'm not going to say something to that room to get those 25 votes, when then I have to go, talk to another group and try to get their votes. So I would be who I am and, and just tell them my positions, and if I lost those 25 voters, I would lose those 25 voters.
What would you tell them that might make them want to vote for you anyway?
I would tell them that I'm a person of my principle. I'm going to try to work to make the business environment better overall, so that they'll be able to, get a job in a better environment.
Thank you.